Hello and welcome to
Hey, we like your pod.
And we're going to tell you why. Hi, it's Dawn here, and I'm joined as always by my trusted partner, Matt Pickett, and our very special guest, Steve Perhach. Hi,
Woo!
Steve. Thanks for being here. How are you?
Good. What's going on, guys?
So happy to have you here. In fact, you know what? I gotta tell you, Steve,
Hello.
I am wearing tonight a Packers jersey that I got from you.
Oh, that's one. Yeah, one of the ones I gave away. That was the. That's a Rodgers jersey that I got on the that I bought during the 2010 Super Bowl run.
Wow.
So that is a Super Bowl winning fan jersey.
Wow.
And in fact, Dawn and I both got one from you, and we wore them on our very first episode of the podcast ever.
That's
so
awesome.
Yes.
Good day to bring it back.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very symmetric because he's 12 and I had 21, so it was 2-1 and 1-2.
Nice.
And so I think at the time it was Clinton Dick,
yep.
haha. But now it's
was that the signed one?
It might. Yes, I think it is. Yes.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, I like Kaha, and I'm glad he's going to retire a Packer. We just found that out this year. So
yeah, he did some really cool stuff. With my sister-in-law is a lawyer, and she worked with his foundation, and that's how I got the autograph. But it was just a really cool thing with all the the libraries and things that he put into the Milwaukee public schools. It was amazing. And he's all over the walls and stuff. It was just his play may have dropped off near the end, but he's a fantastic person.
I would love to hear that.
That's wonderful. Do you know? And hi, Emma. Welcome to the podcast. For those of you who are new, and Steve, since you've been on, we now do our podcasts live instead of pre-recorded. And so, Adrian, hi, Adrian.
Hey, Adrian.
Adrian, who do you have for the Super Bowl? And so our podcast is a little bit of a live chat and a podcast all in once. Anything can happen. Good to see you, Adrian. So I had a question for you. I forgot already. So we're going to get a lot of that tonight because I'm extremely tired. I've been, I'll just tell you how my week's gone. So since I'm just going to jump ahead, usually Matt goes first, but because I said that, and I'm just going through a lot of medical stuff. And so there have been several days where I had to fast for 24 hours, then take tests and then eat and then fast. So I have to do one more out of a month's worth, just a lot of tests going on with some issues an issue I'm having that we can't figure out, probably related to the cat. It's some kind of a bug.
Yep.
In any case, but it's not good because it involves blood loss and stuff. But okay, so guess what just happened? Just happened right before the show started.
What just happened?
I can't. I like them both. Oh, so you can't lose. So Adrian I know you like Mahomes a lot, Adrian. Yeah, you can't lose if you like them both. I mean, we're not really invested. Are you invested in the winner for the Super Bowl, Steve?
When it comes to this, it's kind of like you always want the good game when the Packers aren't involved.
Yeah.
And so that's always the hope. And plus through work, there was some promotion of, I'm in sales. So it's, sell this amount of money and you get entered in the Super Bowl squares. So I'm also invested in the Super Bowl squares. Outside of that, no.
What's a Super Bowl square?
Where they have the sheet of a 10 by 10 and it's you fill in your name randomly, and then they put the teams on the top and the left-hand side, and then they put the numbers. And so some people do it differently, where it's at the end of every quarter, that they'll they'll put numbers on the side 0 through 9, And so the end, like the end score. So if there is 21 to 10, it's 1 and 0, and then you kind of move it, and then that's the winner for that spot. And then some people will do quarters, some people will do every change of score, some people will do just final score. It's just a good way to gamble on the Super Bowl.
Okay. There's another word for that. My mom does that. Is it called there's another word for that. Anyway, my mom does it with her apartment building, I think. All the old people. It's kind of cute.
So do my in-laws. They have a whole massive network of that at their condo building in downtown there. Yeah.
So cute. So
Steve, you're not an old person.
Okay.
We're trying to group you up with that.
That's okay. I'm getting there, man. I'm getting there. There's white in the beard now that I've never seen before, and
it's distinguished.
Oh, yeah. Distinguished.
No,
that's something. That's one way to say it.
So how many squares did you earn?
Technically I would have had 7. I would have had 7, but there's so many people that were involved in it that by the time that I got to my 7, I think I only got to enter 3. So it was like every 50 grand that you had sold, you get a spot.
Right.
And so I started entering them, and then I had a couple of big deals that closed at the end of the month. So still not a bad thing. But when I went back, all of a sudden the squares were all full. So
shoot.
Gotcha.
I'll take the big month sales wise. The commission, the commissions are better than the Super Bowl squares. So I'm all right.
Heck yeah. Sales is king. I always say that in any company. Sales is king. So what do you sell? And hello, Lorenzo. Nice to see you. And Emma wants the Eagles to win. I'm kind of hoping for the Eagles myself, but I don't really care that much.
Yeah, so I work for a credit union in Milwaukee, and basically my job is to go around and find businesses to partner with us that will bring in, credit applications. So there's a lot of it's cars, but boats, RVs, HVAC places, a lot of power sports. So, ATVs, UTVs, motorcycles. And then we've been trying to get creative. We try to do a lot more just like lending for the community. And so I've partnered with cemetery to do that. I've partnered with, like a lot of just different places just outside the box, where a headstone company, because it's like $3 or $4 for those. And, sometimes people just don't have that to be able to put down right away. So it's a good option. And one of the nice things I really like about the company is we're a character-based lender. So what we do is not just take your credit score into factor. We actually do like full interviews with people. So it can take 30 to 40 minutes, but you get somebody's full story, and then you kind of figure out how we can help them. And so that's one of the really cool things I really like about my job, is that it's not just like cut and dry sales of like your money matters the most. It's how many people how many members did you help? And so that's factored into commissions as well. So it's pretty cool.
Ooh,
that sounds like a really awesome line of work for you, being somebody who cares about others and is good at talking to people. That's such an awesome fit for you.
Yeah, it works out well.
Love it.
Nice.
I love it. I didn't know something like that even existed. Me
neither.
It's changed about 17 times since I started it in the last 2 years, and it's going to change even more. But I enjoy it. I get to work from home, which is really cool. And then I just go out in the field in the Milwaukee land area, go all the way up to Sheboygan, down to the Racine border, and then basically out far west is Madison. So I'm kind of all around, and get just a chance to meet a lot of cool people and talk shop, and it's a pretty good fit.
Sounds like a good
I like it.
gig.
I liked sales. I did sales for about 4 years for a software company, and I loved it. I loved everything about it. Okay, so I started to tell you right before we started.
We're in suspense here, Dawn. What happened?
I have these super high up shelves. They're like 8.5, 9 feet up. Like there's a whole world up there for my cat. And she has a climby thing, so she doesn't have to jump up and down. Although, cats, they would my vet doesn't want her doing that because, you know, she still has some issues herself. Anywho, sometimes I walk under, like through the doorway where the shelves are above the doorway, and I just go, hi, you know, and she goes, hi, and she puts her little paw out, and it's so high that I can't actually even reach her paw. So I have to get on a stool just to touch her paw. Well, I didn't get on a stool, and I was just like, hi. And she rolled over, like to extend this way with her paw, like don't know why. And she rolled right off the shelf, 9 feet in the air, and I caught her. I caught her, and she didn't call me. I have 0 scratches, and we were both like, like shocked, and she was extremely grateful afterwards. So it was kind of a fun little happy story. No meowing, no scratching, no biting, nothing. She was just like, I don't know.
Has Brian Gutekunst called you at all to be a punt returner for the Packers?
Receiver. I know, if you can catch a cat without getting scratched, I mean,
it's impressive.
Yeah. Steve, I don't know if you know this, but it's an ongoing, I wouldn't say joke. It's not a joke. It's a sad reality that Dawn's cat is slowly trying to kill her. So the fact that the cat didn't scratch you and was pleased means you just got another week on your life, Dawn. So way to earn the extra time on the planet. Nicely done.
Well, luckily I just put on a sweatshirt with the like long sleeves and everything. So but she didn't even go after my sweater. It happened so fast. So no, she's not trying to kill me. He just says that all the time. She's not. She loves me.
Well, Emma says you're a hero. So there you go.
I'm just glad I'm not at the vet, because it would have been like, hey, Matt, I won't be there tonight because we're in the emergency room. My cat broke her leg.
Well, it would be the rule of the show that only one of us can be here when Steve's here. That's how
it
works. No.
There we go.
That would be weird. That would be too weird. Okay, so all right. So for those of you who don't know Steve Perhach, we're going to take a few minutes before we get to our superlatives and get to know him a little bit better in the tradition of Hey Willip. So as always, we start with our guest's Twitto. So Steve, your Twitto reads Steve Perhach at Steve Perhach, dad to Soren and Fitz, host Packaday podcast. P.S. Wednesday crew.
Best crew of the week.
It is fantasy football. We love them all. We love you all, but we do.
Sure, they're all great. They're all great.
All wonderful. Great. So much of our heart. Each one of them.
They're all different, and that's what's cool too. Very, yeah.
Okay. It was a hell of an idea that Andy had, just to put us all together, and it's morphed into something pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you guys are the best of friends now, too, you three. Steve, and your partner, Sarah and Dusty, the infamous Dusty. Okay, the illustrious, I should say. Not
infamous. What do you do?
I'm sorry, I don't know where they. I'm tired.
Aren't you supposed to put like all these nice things on me, not on Dusty? This is just gonna give him more of an ego, and so I know he's gonna listen to this, and he's just gonna. As soon as I talk to him on Tuesday, he's like, "Oh, remember that time that Dawn was saying all these nice things about me and said nothing nice about you?" It's gonna be great. So thank you, Dawn.
Okay, fantasy football guru. And Packers, Brewers, and Bucks. So that's part of one of my questions. All thoughts are my own. Good for you. Good for you. I speak fluent meme. And you, are you from Milwaukee, or do you just live in Milwaukee now?
No, originally from Milwaukee.
Nice.
Born and raised.
Do you know I'm from Racine, and Matt's from
next to Madison, from Oregon.
Okay. Yeah, I grew up in Wauwatosa.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So, of course, our first question is the most important. Have you ever been to the National Bobblehead Hall of Fame Museum in Milwaukee?
No, I have not.
Did you know there was a...
We've been wondering.
I don't even have a bobblehead on my desk. The closest thing I have is the Aaron Rodgers Funko, whatever the hell they're called, that my daughter gave me because it was Father's Day. Yeah, for Father's Day. And she asked, she's like, well, what do you want? I was like, well, give me something that I can put on my desk that every time I look at it, I can think of you. And so she went with Mom and picked that one out at probably Target, I'm assuming. But yeah, so that's the closest thing I have to a bobblehead.
I love that so much. Just to have like something that makes you think you're a kid on your desk. I mean, like at work, I have a couple pictures, you know, around and stuff like that. But for it to be a Packers thing, dude, I love that.
I've got the other one that will make your heart melt. This is the other. This was from my son, but that way. Yeah, My Dad Rocks. Yeah, I got that one for Father's Day this year, and I was like, okay, we should send extra money to daycare because that one was insane. I was like, yeah, hit me in the feels. That one hit me in the feels.
I love that. The bobblehead, not bobblehead thing. What did you call it? A what?
Funko.
Yeah,
is it Japanese?
No, they're just.
It kind of reminds me of.
They're very like I'm trying to look it up and.
Probably Japanese.
Funko Pop. That's what they're called.
Yeah,
but they do it with like all like the movies and all the TV shows and everything, and they've gone into sports as well. So.
Yeah, I feel like the look of them is very kawaii, you know, so like Japanese in that way, but I don't know where the company's from exactly. Not sure.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay. And how old are Soren and Fitz? By the way, those are great names.
I love those names.
Oh, thank you. I made a joke earlier today on I think one of my teams calls with work and was talking about I was like, yeah, you know, I don't know if you guys know, but I've got the whitest children's names of all time. But my ex-wife actually came up with Soren. She had that one picked out from day one. Like she knew that before she even got pregnant. That was like the name that she had, and it's comes from a famous, I think it's Scandinavian philosopher, Soren Kierkegaard.
Yeah.
And she always loved it. And she was like, you know, this is a name that I've wanted for the girl. And she knew before we had Soren that she's like, the first one's going to be a girl. Like that was her premonition. And lo and behold, it was a girl and was like, well, that's clearly the name then. That's what we're going with.
That's amazing.
And then, we ended up giving her my grandmother's middle name, which is Elizabeth. And so it's Soren Elizabeth. And then we did Fitzgerald Fitzgerald Stephen is his full name. And we call him Fitz. And we struggled coming up with guy names. We really did. Because it was every time somebody would come up with something, it was like, nope, I know a bad person, a D something that starts with that. Nope, dated a guy named this, dated a guy named that. No. I'm like, I knew a guy named this. It was a horrible and so we just struggled, and it was a name I always liked, and it was just kind of it feels like a cool name, and I always somehow in the back of my head I always liked it, so that one was my choice. And then. My dad's middle name is Steven. Obviously, my name's Steven, so that's where we came up with the middle name.
I like that. When we were looking at names for our kids, similar thing where it's like having been a teacher for probably the time the first.
That's worse.
I was a teacher for like 10 years at that point. Yeah, I was like, no, that was
so many bad names then.
Like, can't go with that. Although at least I was dodged a little bit because most years I taught were in urban schools, so it was like. Most of the kids I taught had, you know, a black culture names like Deshaun or, you know, things like Marquisha. Names like these are real names of kids I worked with. Taranisha is a great name. So it's like, we're not going to use names like that because that'd be like weird appropriation kind of stuff. So, but there was one that my wife really liked was Cleo, but I had this kid that I taught, Cleishawn. That it was too close. And I was like, no, that's Cleishawn she's a great kid. She was a handful. Can't name my kid with a name that close to that. Nope.
I always said I would never get a cat, and then I got one kind of just like spontaneous, like I didn't put a whole lot of thought into it. I I'm like, oh, I'm going to get a cat. And I always said if I got a cat, I would name her Grace. And I completely forgot that when it came time. And Tosh, and I don't think, Tosh is graceful, but she's not a Grace at all. Like she's feminine, but she's too confident to be a Grace. It's a nice way to put it.
Okay.
Yeah, she's quite forward. For Grace. I think Grace is a little bit more demure.
You described your cat as forward. I love that.
Well, I don't know how.
Sounds like a fancy ass cat,
right?
She is. And then so anyway, but she's Tosh, and that's French for Spot. And Spot would have been cute too, but Tosh sounds fancier.
And Spot sounds like a dog.
Okay.
Spot sounds like a dog.
Yeah.
She has spots. She's spotted, so that's where that comes from. Even her ears are spotted. It's crazy. Okay. So, Steve, so you haven't been to the bobblehead. Did you know there was a bobblehead Hall of Fame?
I did know that there was a bobblehead. I'm terrified to take my children there because I know exactly how that would end up. I would be kicked out of the bobblehead museum for all the touching and I've known it's there, and I've heard some ads like they always ask for donations and everything. But again, I went to a bunch of Brewer games when I worked at ESPN and got a lot of the bobbleheads, but I normally would just end up giving them away. So,
right, cool.
Give away to the museum. Okay. Here you go, guys. Here's my donation.
Yeah, pretty much.
So you're from Milwaukee. That means you're from Wisconsin. That means what? Is this true or false? Packers is in your blood or in your DNA, kind of, because you're from there.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
That's when you're born and raised in Wisconsin. Packers are king. I loved the Brewers when I grew up. I was a huge baseball fan. I've got Brewers memorabilia as well. I went to Robin Yount's game when he got this 3,000th hit. And I went to the game the 2 games before that in case he got it then as well. And so that was pretty cool. But Packers control Wisconsin, and so I've been obsessed with football since as long as I can remember.
So growing up watching the Packers, I know I asked this question in the Packaday mailbag recently, but when you think back, what is that kind of first memory of watching the Packers that you have?
So I think the biggest thing that I can remember is that my dad, his company had multiple locations, and South Carolina was one of them. Mm-hmm. And so he came back one year and gave me a Sterling Sharp South Carolina Gamecocks jersey. So I was all in on Sterling Sharp, and I loved that guy, and I wore that thing as much as humanly. And this is back in the day when it was just the mesh jersey. It wasn't even a nice jersey. It was just the mesh thing. And so I was that was really cool. And then I think I got the Brett Favre. I think when I officially became the Packers fan was when I got the Brett Favre throwback jersey. So it was the blue and the yellow one.
Oh, yes.
And as ugly as they were.
No, I love them. I love them.
See, I think they're ugly. But I wore that thing all the time. I think all the Packers throwbacks are ugly, but that's just me. I've been very adamant about this. I love the new throwback that they have, but the only reason they're nice is because the other ones all sucked so bad that this one's this one's actually okay. So, and everybody embraces it. So, I just remember playing in the front yard with my brothers and my friends, tossing football around, pretend to be Brett Favre, and football at recess, whenever we could play, you were pretending to be a Packers player.
Mm-hmm. Man, there's been a lot of chatter lately about people trying to get Sterling Sharp into the Hall of Fame. I feel like it's finally time for that. It's been time for that. So love to see that happen.
I know. I was going to ask, what do you think? When's it going to happen? Is it going to be this year?
I don't think it's going to be this year. I think it'll take a couple more years of. I mean, when Shannon Sharp, who comes out and says that I wasn't the best football player in my family, and he's already in the Hall of Fame. Like, I feel like it's gaining traction. It's getting better. The case is becoming stronger, and it's just like, all right, like this guy's like his career ended due to an injury, but look at what he did. He was the most dominant person on the field whenever he played, and I'm like, I feel like that was enough. Like that man did enough to get into the Hall of Fame, and I really feel like it's deserved.
Yeah, absolutely. I mentioned this side there. I said, like, can I ask this question to the Wednesday Packaday questions you guys take? I just want to say real fast, Steve, before I forget. You guys read my questions all the time, and I really appreciate it. Thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem. Like, we always love when we get, like, that's one of the biggest things is we want to know what everybody wants to talk about. Like, we want to know the things that are going on your mind, because when it comes down to it, we're fans as well. Like, that's we don't look at ourselves as like higher than anybody else. Like, there's questions that go on in the Packers world that I'm like, even me, I'm like, why the hell is Joe Barry still here? I don't know. I really don't know. And then we get that question every week, and at some point I'm like, I don't have a good answer for that. I really don't. But we get asked every week. So no, we always love the questions, and you always include a food question as well, which we love. So yeah, keep them coming, man.
Yeah, your food takes are so much fun. Do you think Shannon is? And by the way, Katie mentions in the chat, I always forget Sterling and Shannon are brothers, right? And Shannon is so good Lord. Hold on. Excuse me, but some trash.
Thank you for blocking that, Dawn. Yeah, there's some stuff happening in the comments. I'm glad you blocked that.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Shannon Sharp is so. What were you saying?
I wouldn't interrupt, but that was just like, come on, give me a break.
No.
Okay, sorry, everyone. Sorry.
I didn't even see that, so I'm okay.
I got it really quick. Yeah, I got it really quick. Shannon is so promotes Sterling all the time, and honestly, I really feel like, Sterling, because he didn't get to play so long, that's why it's taking him longer to get into the.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's definitely what's going on, is that he just didn't have the elongated career. But man, like when he was on the field, he was Brett Favre's number 1, number 2, and number 3 wide receiver. Like that was the only person he saw. And then when he knew he was triple teamed, then he's like, all right, I guess I got to look for somebody else.
Exactly. That's when he became kind of a better quarterback, because he didn't just he wasn't just throwing to one person all the time. Definitely.
And then that was my hope when Devontae left the Packers this year. I was like, oh, maybe Rodgers won't have that Sterling Sharp vision. He's gonna have to look around a little bit more.
Totally with you on that. Yeah, didn't quite go down like that, unfortunately.
Nah, didn't quite go down like
that. It didn't work that way. Shannon Sharp has a podcast. It's called Club Shay Shay, and a YouTube channel also. And I love hearing about his and Sterling's and their family, the way those kids grew up. He's a great storyteller, Shannon, and he has had Sterling on. I think he's probably one of his first guests. It's been going on for a couple of years. Yeah, and Too Deep agrees that Sterling didn't play long enough. So, but we're still hoping he gets to the Hall of Fame. He does deserve it. And also, my brother's current lab is called Sterling after he names all of his dogs. I almost said cats. All of his dogs are named for Packers. He's a Wisconsin.
There you go.
Boy too. So, and hello, Granny Juju. Nice to have you here. Thank you very much for loving our channel. Yeah, and this is kind of a newer format, that Matt and I are doing this live, and so we're hoping to kind of copycat in a way to get, for people when we do have great guests like we do tonight with Steve. Any questions you have directly for Steve, please. No, I did tweet that too. Hey, Granny Juju, thank you. Granny Juju, are you a football fan? My channel is football and true crime with Katie, who's also here in the chat, and a little bit of skincare. So what do you have a team? I can watch the Super Bowl. Let us know. So, all right. So, so your family enjoyed Packers together growing up. It was part of your childhood, I imagine. Any great stories?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, I've got 2 older brothers. They both are Packers fans. My dad's a Packers fan. My mom could care less about football. So, I mean, I think we've always got the fun stuff. Like, I think I told this story a little bit on Wednesday, or on Tuesday, but yeah, we did Super Bowl stuff. And so we always had Super Bowl parties at my house. And my dad, for one of his Christmas bonuses was like the super old school, huge jumbo TV that was like, that weighed 8 million pounds and was the big screen TV, but it was, so we had one of those, and oh my God, like that thing made trips to, I think, my brother's house and my house in college. And we would play Nintendo on it, like whatever, but that was the Super Bowl TV. So once that thing came around, like we would host. And so my mom was really good about helping making a lot of food. And then she would go to Blockbuster and rent herself a movie or two and watch the things that she knew that none of us wanted to watch. And so she would do that upstairs in the bedroom, and we would have the party downstairs. And then it evolved into the one year that we had full-size candy bars upstairs, and we were all downstairs in the basement watching the game. We're like, huh, where's the dog? The dog hasn't been down here in a while. She's like, there's food downstairs. Like, she hasn't been. Oh no, she killed all of the candy bars that were upstairs. This dog was known for having an iron stomach. Like, my favorite cookies of all time are the peanut butter cookies with the Hershey Kisses on top.
Oh yeah.
And so one Christmas, my mom makes those at Christmas. And so one year, Molly was our dog, and she decided that she knocked the plate off of the counter or whatever. She ate about half the cookies and then decided that the cookies were too much and ate the Hershey Kisses off the rest of them and left the cookies.
Oh my God. And and Granny Juju says they're blossom cookies. Did she get sick?
Absolutely. We had to take her to the vet. We had to do and that's the first time we ever figured out how much chocolate a dog could ingest versus how many pounds she weighed. And
oh my God.
It was touch and go there. But even my mom was like, you know what? Like, I love this dog. If it happens, it happens.
Oh my God.
She had a lot of chocolate that
day. But she survived.
She did. As again, she had an iron stomach. She ate a loaf of bread one time. They had to force, like, whatever that drug is that makes the dogs puke. She threw up a whole loaf of bread that was shaped like an esophagus. Oh my God. This dog had no fear whatsoever. It was amazing.
Fear is good for staying alive sometimes. I mean, there's that.
But, it helps.
Katie has a good comment here, actually, in the chat.
Katie.
If you know highlights, she said, Steve, you need to try the peanut butter cookie in mini muffin tins with mini Reese's cups stuck in the middle. That's a mouthful. Probably literally. Those are so much better than the Kiss ones. Ooh.
Mini muffin tins. In mini muffin tins.
Steve just went quiet, man. I don't know if hit mute.
I know this is deep. This is deep cookie talk.
That better?
There it is.
I thought
I got excited, and I think I actually hit the power button to my microphone.
That sounds good. Okay,
Katie got me all jacked up about new. like cookies and a mini muffin tin. Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh God. Yep. I hit the power button.
Okay, and Katie's going to send us a picture, and Granny Juju likes this idea too. But she says that the peanut butter cookies with the kisses, they call them blossom cookies.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Heard that before.
I've kind of heard that, but I just called them peanut butter cookies with kisses. But my mom didn't make those. My friend's mom did, though. So it was like, oh, why can't my mom make those? Anyway, but I made them. Yes, we want a picture, Granny Juju, and we had a very clever comment. I got to go back up here now from
Pappy.
Put
the note there. I was going to say before we get away from it. Yeah.
Where's Pappy? Where'd it
Pappy
go?
Schmears at 10:09 p.m.
Pappy Schmears. It's very clever. True crime and football go well together. Brett Favre would know.
Oh,
that is a true statement. We cannot argue with that. Pappy is very clever.
Okay.
Sad but true. What did I hear about? Okay, this is totally, we're going off the rails here, but
no, Brett Favre put out some legal documents today.
Oh, did he? What do you know about this?
Oh no, he's suing Pat McAfee and Shannon Sharp for, I believe it's defamation or
right.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
Okay.
I mean, if he wins, he'll probably get another volleyball court.
Oh man. The thing is he's retired, and the little bit that I know about law is like if for him to win, he would have to be as a result of their comments. He would have to suffer some kind of financial loss. But he's already retired.
Yeah.
So what would he be losing except for his, he's a little punch to his ego? But is his mother or grandmother involved somehow? Because I saw a comment about that, and I was like, what is that? No, anything on that?
No, I hadn't heard anything about if his grandmother's still alive. That's impressive.
Something about grandmother or mother. Yeah.
I don't know. We'll look into that.
Granny Juju says she had a lab who buried a loaf of bread in her house planter.
I mean, if we're just going into dog stories, this is going to be amazing. That's all. I am fine with that.
Yeah, well, don't get me started on cat stories. We'll be here all night. Okay. All right. Let's get to the next question for our illustrious guest, Steven. Might you no, that's not right. Might you share a little bit about what it's like being a host for Packaday podcast? Maybe a little bit about this history, how you started doing that, and what's involved with that every week?
Sure. Yeah, it started, I think, about 4 years ago, which is kind of crazy. And I found a tweet online on Twitter, and it was just Andy Herman saying, it was a guy I didn't know at all. And all it said was looking for people that want to talk about the Packers. I've got a new concept for a podcast. And so I replied to it, sent him a DM, and he was just talking about how he wants to do every single day, wants a new podcast. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like, that's not something obviously in the podcast world, that's not something that happens. Like, so Andy did some vetting, and I was working at ESPN Milwaukee at the time, and he was like, hey, send me some tape. Like, let me hear what you sound like. I'm like, okay. Cool. So I was doing a radio show at the time, and I was honestly looking to kind of get out of that world because I was having my second child, and nights and weekends for ESPN Milwaukee was a lot of fun for me. I loved it, but you have two kids, that's not exactly the world that works, and they don't pay at all. So they pay, but they don't pay a lot at all. Right. And so I was just like, oh, this could be fun. Like I knew I was looking to kind of move my career in another way. And I was like, this could be a sports fix. That'd be fun. And so I joined, like Andy heard my tape and he's like, yeah, absolutely. You can do this. And I was like, cool. And so I joined with 2 guys and we were doing once every 2 weeks. And then Andy asked me, he's like, hey, like, would you be willing to do once a week? He's like, I got this guy, Dusty. He's like, I got too much going on. I would like you to join with him. I'm like, yeah, sure. And so me and Dusty started doing it once every other week. And then the team that I was with magically like fell off weirdly. One of them just had to do stuff with his career. And then the other guy just faded into the ether. Like he wouldn't respond to anybody. Goodness. It was a weird situation. And so then Andy was like, hey, would you guys do once a week? And Dusty and I were like, yeah, sure. So we started doing once a week. And then they had Sarah on as a guest with Andy. And Andy reached out to me and Dusty and was like, hey, we've got this girl who does work for Cheesehead TV. She does recaps of the games. We really like her. She came on the pod. Would love for her to be full-time. What do you think about her joining the team? Like, obviously, if you've listened to Dusty and I, we're both like, yeah, sure, that's fine. Never met this girl, whatever. It's cool. And so, yeah, Sarah joined up, and it just kind of took off. Like, we've always made jokes about how that when it's ever 2 of us, the podcast is boring because we don't argue as much. We're just like, oh, that's a great point. I really like that. That's really good. And so we really feel that the 3 of us together, we will team up and bounce, like, be a jerk to somebody else. And I mean, it happens to me a lot, I feel like, but it's just a lot of fun. And we've really grown together. And it's been an amazing experience. And it's crazy. Every time I talk about it, it's like, you do this Packers podcast. I'm like, yeah. It's like, well, who do you do it with? And it's like this guy from Kentucky and this girl from Florida. Like, how do you know them? I'm like, the magic of the internet. Like that's how it happened. And like, these are 2 amazing people that are in my life, and I love them, and they're awesome. And it's so crazy, but it's been so much fun, and I look forward to more of it.
Yeah, the chemistry that 3 of you have, the rapport, it's, I mean, before we were saying that the Wednesday crew is our favorite, and that's a big part of it, is just like the way how you all interact, and like you said, like kind of have little arguments, or like 2 against 1 all the time. It's a lot of fun. It's a fun group, and I like that it's not like always the same 2 against 1. It shifts, like turns on a dime sometimes even, and it's good stuff.
You're like siblings.
Yeah,
it's like siblings.
That's very accurate. That is very accurate. You're right. It's a lot of fun, and Sarah's always the youngest, which is fun for me because normally I'm the youngest. So, but no, man, like we have a really good time, and it's a really good thing that we like. The shtick that we have going is. We've got a great group where Sarah knows how to do some great recaps on everything. Dusty has the X's and the O's. I'm kind of the jackass that like keeps it all together and somehow keeps it together. Yes, exactly. I'm like the glue that keeps it all. The weird glue that keeps it all together. It just works.
Crazy glue.
This works. Definitely. Sure. The crazy glue.
Yeah, exactly. And it really works well together. And we've built a great base of fans. And I mean, I talked about the time that I met a guy from Germany in a bar in Milwaukee because he loved the Packers so much. He and his friend came over to watch a Packers game, and he's like, "Hey, I've got a layover in Milwaukee." He's like, "I'm going to spend the night. Would you come down and meet me for a beer?" And I was like, "Oh my god, yeah, let's do that." And I ended up telling my wife at the time, I was like, "Hey, I'm going down to a bar to meet some guy from Germany that I met online." And she's like, "What?" I'm like, "No, he's a Packers fan. It's fine. It's fine.
All good. It's all good.
It's okay. It's okay. He's gonna be cool." And he was amazing. And we sat and drank beers and had some cheese curds and talked about the Packers, and like it's a Packers community. Like it's an amazing thing.
It is an amazing thing. That's the kind of situation where my wife would be like, "Well, try not to get killed, I guess, by some random stranger."
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much.
Take a second to highlight a comment from Dusty. Thanks for joining us, Dusty. He says, "Kind of a jackass is the nicest thing Steve has ever said about me." So
that sounds about right.
And actually, we should highlight one from Aaron too. Aaron said that Sarah is awesome because she is. Sarah's awesome. She has amazing taste in men. Hashtag Chris Evans forever. You know, I want to mention too that I really miss Sarah's recaps of the Packers games. Those were so good every week, and I understand why she had to step away from it. So, like, you know, no pressure, no guilt, no shame there. But really, they were exceptional stuff.
No, she's amazing in what she does, and I mean, Dusty and I joke with her a lot because you know she's now in the real world of like a working job, and so all of a sudden now she's like, "Oh, dude, I can't join the podcast." Like all of a sudden, PR nightmare. Like I got to take care of this, and that's why Dusty and I were on the podcast by ourselves this last week, and it's like, yeah, real world happens.
Exactly.
Like but no,
he's growing up.
I love Dusty.
She's growing up.
I love before our eyes. I love Dusty. I love Sarah. They're two of my best friends, and it's crazy that we barely ever hung out in person, but we talk to each other every single week. And that's one of the things we always talk about is like, you guys don't see the before and the after where we talk about life and our DMs of like, our DMs are never about Packers stuff. Day of, sure, but it's always like kid photos and this is what's going on. And Sarah being at the oh god, now I'm gonna blank on it. When she went and did like she was in New York, and yeah, I'm gonna blank on all of this now, but it was pretty amazing. So
cool. And you know your story about
I love them.
Yes, they love you too.
So, yeah, Dusty says right there in writing, we have proof here. He says, "Love you too, pal." So that, yep, no taking that
love
back,
you
Dusty.
too, pal.
Yeah.
In your story about just meeting somebody from Germany, and you know that you have that common bond of being a Packer fan. One of the interesting things in this chat right here is we have Katie here, and we became friendly on Twitter and through our podcast, because she's a Packer fan and I'm a Packer fan. But then we also found out we were true crime nerds. And so now we have our own show doing that. And so some of the folks who are here are true crime buffs, as well as, and interested in certain cases, as well as football fans, not necessarily Packer fans. We've got California in the house and the Rams and all kinds of people here. So, but it's so interesting how something, you know, there's more that can bring us together, right, than not. But it's kind of funny that you said that on a true crime channel about just trying not to get killed. Am I right? I wouldn't have thought of that back in the. It's like, yeah, weird stuff could happen. It could happen.
It's also like, and my screen is the new series or the new season of You, which is all about people being murdered. So
it's in the air.
Yeah. Oh no! Now it's gone to screensaver. Now we're good. Okay.
Oh yeah, I was okay. Is it so? That's fiction though. And Granny Juju says, "Hey, Dusty."
Yeah, it's fiction. Fiction based off of some books, from what I understand.
Oh, okay, okay. Because it's.
But man, it's an interesting series. It's kind of it reminds me of Dexter a little bit, where you're cheering for the bad guy.
Oh.
I feel like a surprisingly large number of those shows in the last, 20 years, whatever. I feel like Mad Men. I feel like Don Draper's the bad guy. Obviously Breaking Bad, he becomes the bad guy over time for sure.
Right.
Have you seen the commercial for the Breaking Bad Super Bowl commercial that's coming out?
No. Did you see the commercial for the commercial? Are those the times we're living in? That's amazing. No, I have not seen that though.
It's for popcorners. So
okay.
Take a look.
I'll check that out for sure.
If you like Breaking Bad, you're gonna love the commercial.
Oh, the show is amazing. Yeah.
I love popcorn.
That was awesome.
Okay, cool. Pappy Schmear says go Eagles. So we have some football. Okay, this is great. This is great. Love
Dawn,
it. Love the chat going on.
I want to comment there, Dawn, about something you said, like meeting somebody through Packers community and finding out like other common interests that then lead to other things. That you made me think of Aaron and Dusty with Monty doing the Watching Stuff podcast, which folks is awesome, by the way. And of course also Aaron does that with Dan and Dan Kotnick on alternating weeks. So examples of like these like side interest people have that they found out about that lead to other things, I think is just really the coolest thing.
It's so fun. It's so fun. Yeah. Okay. All right. Boy. Okay. We're 50 minutes in. We haven't gotten to our superlatives here, but I hope everybody's having a good time. I'm okay.
Steve. There's people going, we're good. We're good.
Good. Okay, so let's see, where was I? Okay, so apart from being a Packers fan, what's your favorite sport to watch or play? Do you play?
To watch, I would say baseball outside of football, because football is still my favorite. I've always been a Brewers fan. I still remember being at Game 7 of the NLCS when the Brewers lost to the Cardinals, and I remember like just being so unbelievably upset. Like that's the one thing outside of the Packers winning a Super Bowl that I want to see is the Brewers winning a World Series. Like that would make my youngest heart so happy. Like I was baseball to grow up with. Like that was the thing I always wanted. I wanted to be a professional baseball player, and so seeing that would make me like so unbelievably happy. So yeah, outside of that, I like the Bucks. It's fun to watch them. It's fun to watch Giannis. Not my thing. Like I'm not gonna go out of my way to watch a game. I'm not gonna go. If somebody offered me tickets, like hell yeah, I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna do that. But outside of that, like I'm not going out of my way to do it. So yeah, baseball would be number one, and then football is right. It's like one A, 1B.
Gotcha. Maddie,
when the Bucks had that. Sorry, go ahead, Dawn.
Is it just football for you, Maddie, or is it?
Oh yeah. I was actually gonna say when the Bucks had that really successful season 2 seasons ago, whenever that was, I was so happy for all of the Bucks fans who I knew on Twitter. Like just seeing that happen, like I was like, this is cool that the team is doing well. I'm not gonna like actually watch the games, but really awesome to see just everyone else like so excited about it. So yeah, just football for me. Just football.
Yeah, when that all went down, it was honestly like I took a extra little bit of joy in it because when I was at ESPN Milwaukee, I did a radio show with Eric Name, and he is the guy who covers the Bucks for The Athletic. And so we kind of cut our teeth together, is what I like to call it. And so he was always obsessed with the Bucks. I was more for the Packers, but he was always obsessed with the Bucks. And then he got the job with The Athletic, and then it took off, and all of a sudden he got to cover Giannis while the Bucks won the championship. And so I was just like, to me, it was like it just felt cool. Like I knew the guy that was covering Giannis, and I knew like I could tell. Like for me, it was like one of those things like it was a win for that guy, and I was really happy for him.
That is awesome.
I love that. I love watching basketball. I think it's more in tennis. I like playing tennis. I like playing things. I can't play things anymore. But basketball is so exciting. Like it's so fast and nonstop and super exciting. I wasn't a football fan my whole life. And I just found all the break, like stop, start kind of annoying. Now understand it better. So I appreciate it. But all right, cool. What are you doing for Super Bowl Sunday?
I've got the kids for the weekend, so I think we're gonna go over to my parents' house and just kind of hang out, watch the game. Nothing too big. My brother normally does a Super Bowl party, but I believe he's out of town this weekend for volleyball with the kids, with his kids. So nothing too crazy, but we'll just get some food, hang out with my mom and dad, and then get ready for the week.
I mean, I think that's the best kind of Super Bowl party. You got food and family and football. Like, what more do you need right there? I think.
Right. Exactly. Well, guys, what do you think we start looking at this week's superlatives?
Ooh, let's do it.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Steve, superlative this week?
Let's do it.
Awesome. All right. So, Steve, and I don't have any superlatives this week.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to just kind of help you cheer you guys on as you follow back and forth. So, Steve, what's your first superlative for the week? What are you going to shout out?
Honestly, like I just do want to shout out. It pains me to do this because I love Dusty and I hate Dusty at the same time. The man puts out so much good quality content. And if you're a Packers fan and you're not following Dusty, like he's got so much good stuff. And it's such a deep dive, and it helps you learn. And that's one of the biggest things I've learned about him is that it helps you learn about the game. And then when I started doing the podcast with him, I kind of got annoyed. It's like, this dude knows so much more than I know about football. And then I started just reading his articles and watching the videos, and I was like, damn, okay, this makes sense. He just gets it. And so to me, the shout out is for Dusty. If you are not following him on social media, if you're not doing that, it's at Dusty Evely.
Dusty says in the chat, do it, embrace it, let the hate flow through you.
Yep, that sounds about right for him. He's an amazing human being, and I do love him with all of my heart, and I love Sarah. But yeah, if you're not following Dusty, make sure you do it.
That's right, and we'll have.
Yeah, go ahead, Dawn. I'll say my thing after you.
Oh, it's just saying we'll have that link so that if you're new to this show and you don't know who Dusty is, you have to know who Dusty is. So we'll have that link in the show notes if you're listening or watching after the show. Yeah. Sorry, Matt.
No. I couldn't second that harder because I mean, just the stuff I've learned from Dusty's writing. And the thing is, okay, maybe you don't want to read an article. Guess what? He's gonna have an article with little video clips. Oh, you don't like that? He's got full on doing a video and talking through stuff. It's you know what? You can't make excuses for not checking out Dusty's stuff. It is all phenomenal. And Aaron actually backs up to some stuff that was said. Aaron says, same, Dusty is the worst and best person at the same time. So there you go. Steve, you're not alone in thinking that, apparently.
Sounds all right.
All right. So I have two superlatives tonight, and I could launch into that. Yeah. All right. So I'm just waiting for the clearance there, Don. So my first one I have is most interesting idea. All right. So Andrew Mertig, who is on another night of the Packaday podcast, he's on the Friday one. The thing he started talking about this last week is an idea he had to look at where you can find the best players by position based on the last 10 years of Pro Bowl players to see where have the Pro Bowl quarterbacks, what rounds are they taken in the draft? Where were the Pro Bowl tight ends, which rounds? So breaking that down and talking through it to kind of see where do we find the actual per draft round where we find the best players. And I thought that approach was really fascinating. It reminded me of the thing that John Meerdink did last offseason looking at positional value. That was kind of like a similar approach, but it'd be really fascinating, I think, to take both of those ideas and kind of contrast the conclusions that they both came to. But it was a really great start. I think he did some of the positions this last week. I think he's going to keep doing them. I hope he does, because I really enjoyed that first foray into it. So if you guys haven't checked that out, that is a really fun series he's starting up.
Yay, Andrew. I like that.
Andrew.
I like your idea about comparing the two as well. We should maybe do that on one of our shows.
That'd be fun. So that was one. Steve, did you have another one you want to do at all, or?
I mean, I'm a little disappointed you didn't pick out the fact that I talked about the microchip in the football and how it needs to be included in the sidelines for punts, but you know.
Yeah, lasers. You mentioned lasers. That
I did.
It's a 60-year-old man.
I'm all for that. I'm all for that.
It blows my mind. Like, there's punts that happen in the NFL. The ball gets kicked out of bounds. There's a 60-year-old man that's running down the sideline, looking up at the sky, being like, "Yep, that's where it went out of bounds. This is right where it went out of bounds." Like, that's just stupid. Like, that's
crazy.
Just dumb.
Yeah,
it's something could be really fixed so easily, but no, they don't care. They don't care.
Yeah,
I was literally laughing in my car driving home. I'm sure it was Wednesday night, when you said that on the podcast. That I was like, exactly. We have the technology.
We find out that there's already a microchip in the ball.
Right.
Like, they have the absolute ability to do it, and they're like, nah, screw it. Doesn't matter. Let the 65-year-old guy that doesn't have good eyesight figure out where the ball went out of bounds by staring into the sky.
Running from halfway down the field.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, there has to be some fudge room for Las Vegas to make money, right?
Oh, Dawn with the conspiracy theories and the script for the season, huh?
Sorry. Well, come on.
Sometimes it's hard to not fall into that thought sort of a train, I guess. I know.
I love a good conspiracy theory.
Oh, me too. I love them. They're fun.
Okay, well, I lied. I have a.
Oh, you do. Go
sorry,
for it.
I lied. Right. I have a. Katie brought in a superlative for us. It's really has nothing to do with football. So I'm going to read Katie. Craziest murder trial ever. The Alex Murdaugh and all the people having to cover it. So that's quite the superlative. And that's partly what I mean. I've had that thing rolling for 2 weeks as I've been doing everything I've been doing in my life. And if you're not familiar with it, are you guys following or hearing anything about this?
I was going to ask you, what is this? I have not the first.
No, okay. I have not heard about it at all.
Well, just really briefly, and Katie and I are going live tomorrow here on this channel. We're going to be covering Wendy Adelson, part of Wendy Adelson's testimony in 2019, as well as looking at Alex Murdaugh's kind of body language-ish so far. Alex Murdaugh was a very prominent lawyer in, and I say was because he's been disbarred in South Carolina, but he also came from a family of prominent lawyers, judges. They basically owned that area. They were everything. And so he was a prosecutor there, and now he's being prosecuted. He's facing somewhere between 80 and 100 charges of financial crimes as a lawyer for cheating people out of their settlements, basically. So he represented them and took their money. Very, very, very bad. But there's so much more. And he's being tried right now for murdering his son and his wife. But it's kind of an interesting trial because most of the people testifying are lawyers. So you're having some of the best lawyers. They're really good lawyers who are trying this case on both sides, and they're questioning lawyers. And so you're getting quite the primer on law. Anyway, the question is whether or not he killed his son and wife, or did somebody do that because he really ticked off so many people and took millions and millions of dollars. So yeah, that's what it is. In a nutshell, it's a lawyer But there's more. There's more. He is said to have staged his own murder, suicide.
What?
He got shot in the head by somebody, by Eddie, who's supposed to go. And I don't know if cousin Eddie, did he go on? And Aaron says he did it. Cousin Eddie, he hired his cousin to shoot him, but I don't know if
he got shot in the head, but he's still alive.
Yeah, it just kind of grazed his head. So that like
I was confused there too.
Sure.
And then also one of his sons, the one who didn't get killed, his name is Buster, of course, and one of his friends got murdered because supposedly he was having an affair with a guy, and dad didn't like. I mean, it just goes on. There's people ending up dead everywhere. He's getting blamed for everything. And it's just crazy to watch because he's not, his body language. I mean, the guy is done, fried, cooked, done. He's going to prison for life, whether he gets charged, whether he gets found guilty of these murders or not. Mm-hmm. But he's clearly coming to terms with all of the loss. Right. And so he's just bawling all the time as he's sitting there with his lawyers. And so it's it's quite the spectacle. So that's, I guess, my superlative via nothing to do with football, but it has kind of preoccupied me this week. So sorry to interrupt. I did have a superlative. Thank you, Katie. And we're going to talk about it more on our show tomorrow. True crime and football, and that's my thing.
So Dawn,
football, that's never happened.
Yeah. It's like three things, Dawn. Three things. Okay. First of all, no apologies for bringing in true crime because we talk about non-football stuff all the time. Second, that was amazing. And third, I forget what third was because that just blew me away so much that you got my head spinning about how crazy you're like, here's a crazy thing, but also another crazy thing and a crazier thing. So that is absolutely fascinating. Oh, the third thing was going to be, just a reminder, folks, that Dawn has this other awesome show she does with Katie, and you should all check it out. What do you guys go live actually, or do you just record it and then put it out there, or what do you do?
No, we go live, and we have quite the live chat. I mean,
nice.
So it's very active, and a lot of people follow me because I started with covering the Dan Markell murder case, and that was another lawyer who was murdered. In this case, it was the lawyer who got murdered, but his ex-wife, and her family, and she's an attorney, are involved with conspiring to have him murdered. But there were hitmen, and it just goes on and on. That's a pretty crazy one too. But that one's in Florida. But
well, damn. This took a turn.
Right.
I'm sorry. No, I'm not supposed to.
No
apologies. Dawn, what time do you guys go live for that?
Well, normally we go we go Wednesday at noon Pacific, but we're going tomorrow night because because of my appointments and whatnot this week.
You do
4 o'clock Pacific tomorrow here on this channel with Katie and I.
Pacific tomorrow.
7 Eastern. You'd be interested, even if you're not interested in this trial. It's a fun chat. The chat
sounds crazy.
Yeah, it's fun.
You'd be interested even if you're not interested.
Right. I don't know. It's kind of like football. Now it's true crime for me. But what I was saying about your show, fiction crime, I can't handle. I don't know.
So like the You Show you're talking about, I was like
this all got brought back to the show I'm watching.
Yes. So join us tomorrow. It's Katie and I are having a great time with it. There's so much every day. It's just crazy, and it's a great education in what to look for, what you don't want in a lawyer. These people. And Aaron says he did it. Aaron, are you following? She probably just saying that. We know Aaron. Are you following the Alex Murdaugh trial? And Too Deep said, and this is good. Too Deep. Hey, I was never into baseball until I went to New York and attended a couple of Yankees on games. The atmosphere in the stadium was what I imagine at the Roman Coliseum was like, and the fans wanted blood, and it was so much fun. That's how it was in. I went to a couple of Boston. What's the Boston team? Baseball. Red Sox. I've gone. Have you ever been to a Red Sox game at Fenway?
Nope, never been out there.
That's pretty crazy experience. They have all kinds of strange little things that they do, something with hot dogs, and I can't remember everything, but yeah. And Erin says she's following it a bit, but everything I've read has given major red flags. Well, yeah, I mean,
it's like it.
I mean, there's a lot to it. There's a lot to it, including the guy, this Alex Murdaugh, was selling oxycodone in foreign countries. I mean, that's one of the, plus supposedly he comes out and says he was addicted to it for 20 years, and everyone's like, no, he wasn't. So we don't know what's true.
Did you see the last one where she just said more red flags than my ex-boyfriend?
Well played, Aaron.
Okay, sorry. All right.
Well, he finished in 12 seconds. That's what you're saying, Aaron? Sorry, Aaron posts a lot about her ex-boyfriend, so we all kind of know.
If you know, you know.
Yep.
We love it. We love it. We love Aaron.
Well, okay, Dawn, I had one more, and I hate to follow all of that with something much, much less, crazy. But there was the best thing I heard this week, apart from your story about the trial. Best thing I heard this week that also wasn't Steve's thing about the lasers and the microchip. It was this fascinating interview that I heard on Blue 58. It's one of the things that John Meredith is trying to do is have more interviews as part of the show. And he was connected to the wife, or I suppose of, we say widow, I guess is the word, right? Of Don Koselnick, who was on the Packers during the Lombardi era. So her name is Peggy Koselnick. There was like a really great little 12-minute interview that he had with her, and just hearing this window into what it was like for the players and their families in that time, because of course it was a lot different than it is now. It was just like, it was really illuminating and like quaint in a really charming way. Just like hearing this old woman talking about, these old times, and just picturing, like, I don't know, it totally like sent me to like this era, and it was really captivating. It was really captivating. So I hope he keeps finding more people to talk about, like, being on the inside of that kind of stuff, because it was fantastic.
Oh, that sounds great, Matt. Thanks for bringing that one out. And again, that link will be in our show notes. That sounds really neat.
Yeah, so that's, I don't know if I said Blue 58 or not. I'm not sure if I said Blue 58. That's the name of the podcast. So make sure to check that one out, folks.
You think about this 20 years from now, somebody's going to come out and talk about what was really going on in the locker room when Aaron Rodgers was quarterback.
I hope so. I want to hear all about it.
I mean, hurry up. Like, I want to hear everything. Maybe it won't be like a family member, probably, but yeah. Who's the fly on the wall that's going to come clean for us? Who do you think?
Gives me the mole.
I mean, there's got to be flies on the wall in a hut when you're in there for 4 days straight in darkness. So there's multiple flies. There's multiple flies, right?
How are there not flies there? Yes.
It must be fun. Okay, can I ask one more quick question before we start rolling down? Because I missed all podcasts this week. What was did Sarah do her recap of Pat McAfee yesterday?
No, Sarah was off for the week. She had a issue with work, and so she took the week off. So Dusty and I actually kind of broke down a little further. Like, unfortunately, there was not a lot of Packers content this week, so we actually took McAfee and went in a little bit deeper dive and just talked about everything. And it was an interesting conversation, because we talked about how, there's easy jokes to be made and there's all this stuff with Rodgers, but the way that I kind of looked at it, and Dusty even agreed, was like, man, this is a guy that's on a journey, and it's a different journey than a lot of people ever will go on. Like, there's not a lot of people that are going to be comfortable going into a hut for 4 days or a house for 4 days, no light, no nothing, and exploring your inner thoughts. There's so many people that just numb themselves. Is that what
he did? I have heard nothing about this. So
he's going to be doing it.
Yeah.
He's going
was it like a sweat lodge?
Like not exactly. It's a darkness retreat. So it's 4 days and 4 nights of no light. He will be provided food. He's provided a place to go to the bathroom. There's some jokes about that were being made. But yeah, overall, it's just he knows that there's going to be some hallucinations that happen through it. But it's 4 days and 4 nights of just you and your thoughts. And that scares people.
And mushrooms? Is he doing mushrooms too?
No, he does. I don't believe it's any hallucinogens or anything like that. It's just you and your thoughts. But
he'll sleep.
4 days.
He'll sleep.
I would assume so.
There must be some sleeping arrangement in there, a cot or something.
Yeah,
I imagine.
But yeah, 4 days and 4 nights of no human interaction, no nothing, just you and your thoughts, and that can lead to some weird stuff. And not everybody is capable of doing that. Like I mentioned on the podcast, I was like, hey man, people go out of their way to numb themselves with alcohol and drugs and social media and whatever is your vice that you can numb yourself with. And then that's okay. Like that's what you need to function. But this man is on a different journey than a lot of us can even fathom. And he's doing what makes sense to him. And it's weird and it's different. And we always question what's different. And so, yeah, it's definitely unique. But man, if that's what the guy needs to go through to figure out what he wants to do the rest of his life, I have no problem with it.
Yeah. There's a point that would have been made too that like his life for so much of his life has been like football. You get from like being really good at it at one level to being good at it at the next level. And it's just this, like, it's your life. So when you're facing, you know, the end of that journey of being a football player, it must be crazy thinking like there's a whole lot of my life I haven't really lived. And like, what do I do now? And just, it must be such an identity crisis, I would think too. Like who am I without this sport? Now that I'm so old that I can't do it well anymore, you know? Like, whatever it takes for him to find that. That's
Yeah. I agree. And especially because he doesn't have family, like, so he has just himself, right? Yeah. And so that's kind of makes sense. That's all he has. So he's indulging in that. Okay, so just back to the murder trial. Too deep.
Back to the really interesting stuff.
That's cool. Back to the murders.
Comment in the chat. It's a murder trial. Too Deep says it's a murder trial with no evidence of who did it, which is actually true. It's fascinating. It's mostly circumstantial, which most murder trials are. Evidence case where the public is already convinced he's guilty because of these financial crimes. Okay. And so it's frustrating to some people who are really paying attention to what the law should be and what the burden of proof needs to be in a murder trial. 2 people, his family members. I mean, the burden of proof needs to be super high for that. And so it is a little bit frustrating from a technical standpoint. So thank you for that comment. And then Too Deep also says about Rogers, he gets to go and get higher than a kite for 4 days. So that when you said hallucinations, I wasn't sure if you meant because
no, it's from what I understand, it's not like taking any drugs or anything, but being in the dark for 4 days straight with no interactions, nothing with anybody else. Like he admitted that there's going to be some level of hallucinations. So I mean, if you've ever been alone with yourself for a couple of hours and you have no distractions, you have no nothing, like that's insane. Like that's your mind is already working on overdrive. And if you're going to go 4 days,
like
I mean, I think the concept is probably coming from the fact that he admitted that he took ayahuasca and he did that trip and he did that thing and it was eye-opening to him. But like, again, it's another thing that is very different than most people would never, ever consider doing. And
most football players especially.
Hey,
Yeah.
most football players, absolutely, but most people in general, nobody's going out of their way and be like, I want this drug that's going to make me projectile vomit for a little bit, and then I'm going to see things. Like, that's what I want. Like, no, that's not what most people do.
Yeah. And Dusty makes a comment here that I was gonna say this too. Dusty says, in the absence of mental stimuli, your brain can start providing some for you, because when your senses are, not getting input, they're gonna start creating it for you, kind of like your brain's just gonna start putting something out there, and that's thus hallucinations.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There are, the reason I asked about the hallucinations, because there's so many like Indian, Native American Indian, but also Indian. I mean, there's just so many cultural variations of this kind of thing. A lot of times it involves sleeping out in the snow or sleep deprivation or whatever. There's a lot of ways you can, force yourself into that. I have this like standing joke with my brother that we'd both be super happy in solitary confinement. I mean, some people are just, I don't find it 4 days that big of a deal myself personally. I can't imagine I'd be hallucinating.
But how would you feel if there was no light whatsoever?
Exactly.
No light.
So you are completely in the dark.
Yeah.
For 4 days straight. There's no light. There's no going outside. There's no nothing. It's just you in complete darkness. It's a different thing. Like maybe a day, maybe 2 days, you're okay. But like that's a lot of time with you and your thoughts.
Yeah, in the darkness. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's intense. That's all. Everybody will take it differently, but that's an intense experience.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, the darkness. I forgot about the darkness part. Sorry. I remember why, because Aaron had this little graphic with his little face coming out of a hole. Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Ellis had a graphic of Aaron Rodgers. Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers. Sorry. Yeah, Aaron. Okay, sorry. Yes. Total sense. Yeah, that would be creepy. The darkness, but I don't know why I would do it. Like, what's the point? I don't know. And so Too Deep says it's no secret what those retreats are all about. He has to decide if he wants $50 million, basically.
I think it's deeper than that. Too deep, it is too. Come on.
Too deep. He's just
deeper
joking.
than that.
The man's got a lot of money as it is. I think I like it's something that a lot of us can't understand, because none of us are being offered $60 million to play football. None of us are we all just say like, I would take $60 million to play football. Of course I'd take that. Like, yes, absolutely. But the man's got enough money. Like, he's clearly looking for something more and deep, like something deeper than just football. And we can all look at it and be like, let's trade him and let's get the draft picks. Let's do whatever we need to do, what the Packers need to do. But he's on a journey, and it's not a journey that a lot of people ever try to go on. So the guy's going through something different than any of us are on right now.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It is hard to conceptualize like what it's like to be him. It's such a foreign thing to anything we could even imagine. Absolutely.
It sounds easy as hell. Like, it's like, oh, I get to play quarterback for the Packers and I get $50 million here. This is amazing. Like, it sounds awesome.
Well, I mean, isn't his struggle really about what he wants to do with his life? Not whether he should make 50 million, because he's already made that money, right? And I don't think he's going to get offered 50 again. So I think it's more about going forward, what to do. And, most people don't have the luxury of that. They're just trying to survive, like they can't take 4 days off in general, let alone in a dark room. I mean, it's okay. Whatever he has to do what he has to do. I'm not against or for it in any way, but I just wasn't sure what it was because I haven't been on Twitter saying, I hadn't heard any of it. So
there's been one or two jokes about it. That's for sure.
A couple
I'm sure.
There,
one or two.
Well, and I also try to stay away from the whole "am I going to retire or not" thing. I'm just sort of like avoiding that. So, but so.
Steve, you mentioned there's one or two jokes. Can I just say what my favorite one is that I've seen all week?
Yeah, absolutely.
Since we're on it, this was Eric Peterson, at that TKE guy 693. That is a handle. So it's like Aaron Rodgers and like with the hand holding, emoji, Aaron Rodgers and Gollum, and it says wandering around in the dark with their one ring. That's good. That's good.
Damn.
I know.
That is
I think I dropped my phone when I saw that one.
That is good. That's probably the best one I've heard.
That one? Oh, that's good.
It was the best one I saw all week for sure. Eric Peterson, well played.
Yeah, that's Absolutely. Good. That's very good.
Well, Steve, any final thoughts before we wrap up tonight? We're really glad you came on, and it's just been nice to have this free flowing conversation off script, and we really appreciate everybody in the chat too joining us, and Steve, and so any final thoughts before we go?
Not too much. No, just I appreciate you guys inviting me on. This has been a lot of fun. I know it was supposed to go apparently 30 to 50 minutes, but we went a skosh over, which is okay. I enjoyed the conversation. It was a lot of fun. One of the big things we've always talked about on the podcast is mental health. That's one of the big things I've been pretty big on. I've joined Jamie and Dawn before, and just making sure that you're taking care of yourself. That's with the craziness that's been going on in the world for the last 3-4 years, is just making sure you're taking care of yourself. Like, I go to therapy. It's been a huge factor in turning my life around and getting me to where I want to be. Not even there yet, but it's a work in progress. So it's a good thing. So if you guys ever need to reach out to somebody and you have no clue who to do it to, like, I'm around. I'm more than happy to talk to anybody that needs some help. And so my DMs are always open on Twitter. That's at Steve Perhach. And I'm not exactly looking forward to the off season for the Packers, but it's going to be interesting. There's going to be a lot of moves that are made. And once those things kind of go down, it'll be a lot. Hopefully should give us some good content to talk about, but you can follow us, at Packaday Podcast, at Dusty Evely, at Sarah Kelleher 4, and then me at Steve Perhach. So that's about all I got, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Steve, this is a blast. I've been looking forward to being on the show at the same time as you ever since I missed the one that you were on before. And I do want to say that I really appreciate how openly and supportively you talk about people taking care of mental health, because I really feel like we just need more and more people to be talking about it to help destigmatize it further. So appreciate that. All right, Dawn, I'm going to do it. Here we go. All right, friends, make sure you are following Steve Perhach on Twitter. And of course, that is Steve, S-T-E-V-E, Perhach, P-E-R-H-A-C-H. And of course, you'll find links in our show description for everyone we mentioned, so please check it out. Whether you're a super fan or content creator, we'd love to have a chance to interview you. So if you're a subscriber, our DMs are open at Hey Willip on all the social platforms. We'd love to hear from you or someone you'd like to nominate to be a guest on our podcast this year. And folks, when you subscribe to our podcast, you help us to keep spreading the love in our community. And the best way to help this podcast grow is by sharing it with your friends and family.
Yes, Maddie, that's right, because we love you. We're so glad to know you, to be fans of you, and to have the luxury of being fans of the most storied team in the NFL. We appreciate your support, your subscriptions, and sharing our pod, and we look forward to seeing you next week on
Hey, we like your pod.
Football in general comes down to discipline and people owning their roles. And when you aren't disciplined or you go outside the scheme, bad stuff happens.